And then I know going into product or project management, um, you don't necessarily need a CS degree even if you're on like a technical team. So how do you think your CS background and I guess MHS background, um, how do you think that helped you on your job, or do you think it really like didn't really matter?
Yeah, so for me, I think it helped a lot and it continues to do so. And I know many product managers who don't have a technical background. And I think a lot of times that can be a problem. So when you're a product manager and you don't have a technical background, you don't really know how long things are going to take. So
Right.
you can ask an engineer and they can give you an answer, but you have no way of knowing whether that's actually realistic or not. And a lot of times I'll have meetings with product managers who will claim something, could be take a really long time. But being a former software engineer, I know that certain things should not take a long time. And if they
Right.
are, then we have a different problem. Either, we're not getting bad information from an engineer, or maybe our tools are, need improving or
Mm.
something like that. So it definitely helps me know how long things will take. It helps me know whether engineers are kind of being honest with me, and it allows me to help the engineers and kind of propose different ways to
Mm.
go about things. I can
Yeah.
directly tell them like, try this, try this. This is what I would do if I were trying to solve this. And I wouldn't know any of that if I didn't have that CS degree background. So
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And that same sort of question for you, John. So how did your education play a role into like the professional work life? And did you end up using a lot of stuff or some things that you learned from school, or is it more just like the problem solving aspect?
Yeah, so when I first started in the business analyst role, I would say that not all of my CS knowledge really was used really at all. It was basically all business. I really wasn't doing anything technical. There was one project I was working on where I was analyzing some data, so that was helpful because in CS, you kind of have to analyze the problem and
Yeah.
figure out, what's the best way of going about it. So I think that in that role, the thing that I used most was my ability to um, kind of make the job more efficient. So if I saw that there was like, oh, we have this big amount of data that we need to kind of look through or, figure out what's going on, it just kind of helped me consolidate that data and just kind of figure out a faster way to do things so that it wouldn't
Right.
take me as much time or an easier way to do things. So yeah, that role, not as much as a business analyst, but in
Yeah.
my role now, I do a lot of PowerShell scripting. So understanding kind of how PowerShell works, obviously that's a big technical piece. So, CS definitely helped with that. And then the web applications, obviously, like, they were .NET Core 3.0 web applications. So just understanding the stack and, um, how kind of the database links to application and how, the front end is supposed to be designed, just understanding all of that from a programming perspective, that CS degree, I can say was very helpful. I actually didn't take any web dev courses at Vandy. Shout out to Graham Hemingway. But anyway, but yeah, so I did take that course. But honestly, looking back, I kind of wish I did because I
Yeah.
feel like that would have been super helpful. And web dev is like so big now
Definitely.
that,
yeah,
it's like there's such a need for it everywhere. Um, and but yeah, so scripting, programming, yeah, and then on the day to day, just figuring out, when we get an incident, hey, what's the best way to complete this or get this done? Like that's huge.
Yeah.
What tools do I need to use to get this done? Yeah, I mean, I feel like my CS degree has been super helpful in doing that. I don't think I'd be able to, pick up some of our tool set as quickly if
Right.
I hadn't been exposed to, the CS classes that we took for sure. Haven't really used data structures and stuff like that as much,
Yeah.
um, but it's just helpful to know how to program in general. So yeah,
Gotcha.
definitely has been useful.
What about your corporate strategy minor? Have you used that much?
Oh yeah, I guess just like understanding how to writing emails, man. Like, it isn't even a technical thing, but like writing emails. If you write, if you respond the wrong, because we interface with a lot of directors and things like that who are asking for, you know, these incidents to be done, or they need information from us. And so, you know, when you get on a call with these directors and just how to speak with them and how to articulate yourself, or how to you know, go back and forth in email, it's like you need to be very succinct. You need to make sure that you're not trying to step on any toe. Like, there's just a lot of different things that you need to know. And so I think that definitely my corporate strategy minor helped there. And even in the business analyst role, I think that corporate strategy minor obviously was even more important, because now I'm doing technical work and my managers do a lot more of the interfacing. Like, I do some of the interfacing, but my managers do a lot of it. I'm more so, like I said, the analyst who does the work. But in that business analyst role, I was like meeting with directors to help them, because the people leading these teams are like senior managers. So like, you're meeting with them, helping them set up a project. And so it's like, you can't come on that call, you know, like, oh, well, maybe I like, no, you need to have your things in a row, because it's like, you know, you don't want to waste their time. You realize really quickly, like, you do not want to waste people's time. So definitely, how to articulate yourself, emails, how to write business requirements. And I think that's super helpful, just how to articulate. Ben obviously knows about this, but just how to articulate technology into the business sense is like something that I think everybody, even software engineers, need to know. You really can't become a manager or something on another level if you don't know how the technology impacts the business. Like, you just don't, you know, so definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing, especially I know startups definitely want their engineers to like have a better sense of sort of like the business's goal, because they don't want you just to build something, but like you're building it in the wrong mindset, or building it for like the wrong type of user or type of use case. So yeah, I definitely think that's a very strong thing to know, especially if you want to go into someone like Ben's position and be a product manager. You need to have that sort of broader view.
Yeah.
And then, so you mentioned a couple things that you learned on the jobs, or like protocol or etiquette, I guess, and just like how to work. Ben, what are some things that you learned outside of school and just on the job?
Yeah. I would say in any job that you join, you're going to have to learn a whole bunch of new things, for sure. So I would say a lot of what I learned in college didn't necessarily translate to what a product manager does.
Sure.
When it comes to kind of prioritizing what work to do, and how you like the vision of the software as well. Sort of just things that you have to pick up on the job. And also, John mentioned, you know, writing business requirements, and, you know, even product requirements, and just all sorts of requirements. I'm not sure that I learned a whole lot in college regarding that. I also didn't have the corporate strategy minor, so maybe I would have learned.
I don't think I even learned that in the corporate strategy minor. Like, not the way that the organizations really want them, you know, done.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely something to pick up. But I guess it all goes back to wanting to, you know, build the best software for the customers that you're serving. And just kind of, if you think of it too about just like a win-win-win, like you want to win for the company you work for, you want to win for the customers who are using the software, and you want to win for the end users who ultimately have to use the software. So with B2B, you build software, and then the customer and the people who are buying it are usually, you know, the people who aren't actually using it. So sometimes there's a disconnect where you have all these features, but then it's hard for the end users to use it. And, you know, it may get sold, but then the people using it are really unhappy. And then that hurts renewals. And so a company may buy your software and then they don't renew it because the users can't use it. So I think it's really important not just to sell the software, but to have people enjoy using it and be able to use it, and have it, you know, be performant, usable, etc. So a lot of times in the B2B space, things were first created to just kind of solve the business needs. And now it goes beyond that, but also you need to solve the end user's needs, and for, I guess, everyone to be happy with it. So it's something I learned as well coming in, and something that I wouldn't say that college prepared me for that either. So.
Right. Yeah, it definitely sounds when you do B2B, especially if it's like B2B to C. I think that's a term. But
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
yeah. Which I don't know if is like strictly because I don't know if the businesses are selling the software. But anyways, there's definitely that added layer in like that we're giving you or you're buying or licensing our software. That doesn't mean like you're going to be using all of the features. That doesn't mean like you know how to implement it right. So there's definitely
Yeah.
that extra layer.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I even going to that last piece, implementing it right. I mean, that's another whole thing where there's so many ways you can implement software, and B2B
sure.
especially. There's not just one size fits all. It's very customizable. So sometimes customers and end users are unaware of the features that they
Mm,
have, and sometimes it can look different for different customers too. They could be using the same software with a different switch turned on, and it can affect
right.
what they're doing, and then they're not sure how to like do a certain thing, and it's like, well, there's different kind of versions here, like which one are you using? So that can get confusing too. So trying to make that whole thing easier, the software easier to implement. And I think it's like sort of years ago they wanted to customize everything for every customer, but now
Mm,
I think the shift is more so where you sort of want it standardized with a few things that you can customize, but
right.
if you have too many options, it becomes very hard to help your
On
customers.
the support side. Yeah.
Yeah, on the support side, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um,